Abortion. The word itself is an attention grabber. Everyone has their own feelings and opinions about it. Abortion has been and will most likely remain a very controversial issue. At almost every election season, abortion is brought up by one of the parties. It is what some U.S. citizens use as deciding factors when they decide who they are going to vote for. Through my research, I've discovered that it is quite hard to find unbiased information about abortion. Therefore, I'm presenting about this topic to get its facts instead of scare tactics. Americans are basing their opinions on abortion off lies and exaggerations. As of May 2016, 78% of Americans believe that abortion should be legal in some or almost all circumstances. Politicians are supposed to reflect the people's opinion, and I feel that they aren't always a good representation of the public. During this election, there have been outright lies about abortion to scare people, and the truth must be spread as well. Knowledge about the science, laws, and history and statistics of abortion is necessary to make a well-informed opinion on the subject. The first step to truly understand abortion is to learn and comprehend the science behind pregnancy and the abortion process. The average full-term pregnancy is between 38 and 40 weeks. While much is known about pregnancy and fetal development, there is still a lot of debate on when pain can be felt by the embryo. Several studies have drawn up their own conclusions, but no solid facts have shown any exact evidence. This is the critical periods of human development, starting from week 1 all the way to 38 weeks, which is full term. And here are the different, like this is the central nervous system, the heart, the upper limbs, like when they grow in the fetus. The Supreme Court ruled that abortions can happen up to the 20th week of pregnancy, which is about here. There are 2 types of in-clinic abortions. There's aspiration and D&E. Aspiration is used up to the 16-week mark of pregnancy, and it's the most common type of in-clinic abortion. It's a procedure that ends pregnancy by emptying the uterus with a gentle suction of a manual syringe or with a machine-operated suction. D&E, or dilation and evacuation, is usually performed after the 16-week mark. It involves dilating the uterus and performing a combination of aspiration technique and also the use of scraping instruments. There's also an abortion pill. That is just the combination of 2 medications to end the pregnancy. And it's usually used up into the 10-week mark, so here prior. And now that we understand the science of abortion, we can look at the laws, regulations, and political stances here in the United States. Abortion is controlled and regulated by doctors and the government. There are nationwide laws as well as laws that vary state by state. Our government's 2-party system each has their own platform on the issue as well. In 1970, a woman by the name of Roe, she sued the state of Texas because she felt that the state law prohibiting abortions except to save the mother's life was unconstitutional. In 1973, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Roe and overturned a law of 30 states that generally prohibit abortion. The Supreme Court stated that these laws violated the 14th Amendment and that the 14th Amendment protects the right to privacy. That included a woman's qualified right to terminate her pregnancy. The Supreme Court created rules for abortion legislation that each state could enact depending on each trimester of pregnancy. And the first trimester, which is through week 12, states that each state cannot prohibit abortion. They can only decide which physicians can do abortions and where they can do abortions. In the second trimester, which is through week 27, states cannot prohibit abortion at all. They can regulate the way that they are performed for the purpose of protecting the mother's health, though. This includes setting qualifications and where it's performed as well. In the third trimester, which is through week 40, states can prohibit abortions after the age of viability, which means the point where the preborn human can live outside of the mother's uterus. States still cannot prohibit abortions to protect the health of the mother during this trimester. In 1992, Planned Parenthood versus Casey, the Supreme Court ruled that states could enact laws that regulated abortion throughout the pregnancy if they did not create a substantial obstacle to obtaining the abortion. Both of America's two main political party systems have their stance on abortion, either if they're against it or for it, and this is usually a big part of their campaign. For Democrats, they're usually for. They believe that it should be mostly legal, and Republicans are the opposite. They believe it should be mostly illegal. And here are their official 2016 party platforms on abortion. These laws and regulations have created a bevy of different circumstances for women depending on which state they live in, how old they are, and many other aspects. By looking at statistics that relate to women and abortions, you can get a real-life information about this issue. To prevent an overwhelming need for abortion, states need to, the parents, and the schools need to be informing students with real sex education and with preventative things like contraceptives. Only 28 out of 50 states have made the priority of having sex education and pregnancy prevention available. These 28 states include giving out contraceptives to teens to prevent teen pregnancy and also unintended pregnancies. In 2012, almost 700,000 legal induced abortions were reported. When comparing this number to 2011, that number went down 4%. When looking at all the statistics from 2003 to 2012, the number of abortions has decreased 17%. Most abortions in 2012 took place early in the pregnancy. 91.4% of abortions happened prior to 13 weeks, 7.2 abortions happened between 14 and 20, and only 1.3 happened after 21 weeks. In the U.S., 87% of counties have no abortion providers at all. In 2015 alone, state legislators passed 57 new constraints on abortion. Here's a graph of the number of abortion restrictions state by state in the category of restrictions. So on this side, we have the states that have the most restrictions on abortions. This is only like 25 of half of the states, so these are the ones with the most. And then on the bottom here, it's the total number of abortion restrictions. And each color is a different restriction, like waiting periods, ultrasound requirements, parental involvement, and insurance coverage. And hold on, sorry. Just look at these. You can see all, like, Indiana has the most. Our state, I believe, is the 22nd, which we still have a lot of restrictions. We have about 10 different restrictions. Since the beginning of 2016, 19 states have laws prohibiting partial birth abortions. 43 states prohibit beyond the point of fetal viability, which is about 20 weeks. 38 states require parental consent. 17 require the women to get counseling. 28 have waiting periods. 11 have coverage of abortions in private insurance plans. They restrict that. And in 95% of women that get abortions do not regret getting their abortions. Over 3 years after having an abortion, a study saw that an overwhelming majority of the women felt that terminating the pregnancy was the right decision for them. After learning about the abortion science, laws, and statistics, you can make your own knowledgeable opinion on the subject. No matter how much we learn about abortion, our country will most likely remain divided on the issue. One thing that is certain, more and more Americans are beginning to support abortion. Our country and the politicians running it need to look at statistics and have policies that support what the people are saying. Abortion will always be wanted and needed, And we need to make sure that we're providing an abundance of safe places for women to exercise their rights. We also need to make sure that our teenagers and young adults are provided with sex education and with some sort of pregnancy prevention. If we all express our voices, it will be heard.